So tonight's topic is meet the Clairs and more clarity. So what does that mean? So meet the Clairs is we hear the terms, a lot of terms thrown around out in the energy world, in the world of healing or psychics, and I just want us to discuss what some of those terms are, so we get clarity for ourselves, and then as a group we get clarity for moving forward. Let's see. Yeah, okay, yep. We'll do some stuff at the end. I'll talk about some of those things, and then at the end, of all my meetings, all of these meetings, I want to offer readings of some sort, so you guys can think of questions along the line. They can be global questions. They can be any kind of clarity questions that you think others might want to understand about some of these terms, or how they work. And then at the end we can do personal. Everybody can get a question, and I'll answer it psychically. Okay. So Russ, Melody, Diana. Okay. You guys are all familiar with each other now and comfortable, and don't hesitate to ask any questions, because I just want it to be like a group thing. So as far as the Clairs go, you hear the terms, clairvoyant, clairsentient, stuff like that. What the heck are they? From my perspective, there's 4 main ones, and then there's other ones too. The reason I think this is a great topic is because I like for people to hone into and tap into what I believe, like what I call your own spirit language. So spirit and the universe talks to you differently than it talks to you, than it talks to you, than it talks to me. Of course there's going to be some overlap, but there are really unique languages that we each get messages from, and it's important for me to be able to reflect back to everybody, like, what is your strength or strengths? Or sometimes if we get too much information, we don't know what to do with it, we shut down, and then there becomes some people who are sensitive will shut down, or they'll live in fear, and that's all very understandable because they just don't understand these things. And so when we learn what language we lead with, or a couple of them that we lead with, we can begin to pay attention more to that and hone in more on that language from spirit and from the universe, and then amongst each other. Also, out there in the world, we can start to not educate by like being a teacher, but we can start to inform people by our knowledge, and that can be the beginning of a big shift or a wave of consciousness shift. Others can start to be open to or understand these things. Okay, so the 4 main ones that I hear most are clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentient, and claircognizance. So we're going to talk about those. Okay. The first one I'm going to talk about is clairvoyance. Now, the word clair means clearly. So clair and voyance means to see. So clairvoyance means to see clearly. So you're using the facet of your seeingness. So if we think about people who are visual, not just in their energetic or psychic experiences, but everyday people who are visual people, they're going to tend to be stronger in the clairvoyance. So you can think about, how do you show up? If you walked into this room, would you say, oh, I see blah blah blah, or I see the colors, or I see that the furniture is arranged neatly, or you say I feel, or do you say I notice, or you
As a sales tool, as a salesperson, we would figure out how that person processed
Yep.
information. If they were an analyzer, or if they
Yep.
were a feeler, or if by judging on their
Yep.
language, you would just mimic how so that they could
That's how
relate
you
to
did
you.
before.
Yeah, I get that. I didn't apply that to this stuff.
Yep, yep. And so when we get into the energetic, when we get into readings, when we're doing readings and reading each other and building those muscles, you're probably going to be strong in those areas. Like you might be claircognizance. You might be more visual. So again, we're not all the same. So when we start reading, it's important for us to know how this might show up for us, right? So we can validate ourselves on how we're receiving messages instead of just dismissing messages. Because it's how we really get the confidence and the repetition of trusting those messages, acting on those messages, getting validation on those messages. We don't know what those languages are, right? Okay, so seeing. So you might be clairvoyant if you have a very active dream life. So do you visually remember your dreams? Scenically, are you a scenery person? Do you daydream or imagine things a lot? Do you speak fluently in metaphors? I actually speak a lot in metaphors, and it's funny because when I first started taking when I first enrolled in psychic school, man, I was psychic, but I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know these distinctions either, and I was like, I don't see anything, but I saw so much stuff, and I've seen stuff all my life. I just didn't realize I was seeing it, because it's almost like, for me, most of the time, the way I get it is, like if you can imagine things, or if you shut your eyes and you see colors, or if you shut your eyes and you just observe and you see movement or shapes or color orbs or stuff, your heart beating, almost like you can just see colors. And I've seen that all my life, but I didn't realize that was different from people who don't see colors, right?
Okay, people say, oh, you don't dream in color, but what if you do? Like,
yeah, I do.
I never understood that. Like, what do you mean you don't? I mean,
right.
Like you're not supposed, like you don't, like that was a lot, like I thought, am I not dreaming right?
Right.
I mean, is there any truth or validity that dreams are only in black and white? And
No.
So, right? I mean,
No,
because I don't know where I heard that from, but as a child I was, I like learned or taught or read that somewhere that dreams are only in black and white.
I think there was, some, a lot of dream education, dream books, dream interpretation that said, we only dream in black and white. I remember reading that when I was little. I'm like, yeah, right.
Right, I call bullshit immediately.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, and but I
know.
do believe, just from my experience, that we'll get into this when we really talk about dreams, when on the astral travel and dreams. I believe that there are some that are black and white, and that there are some that are in color, and then there's some that are just like a mishmash of weird stuff, but then there are some where it's very fluid like this. Like I dream like this. And then I'll wake up in the morning and I'll remember everything that we talked about. I'll remember what you're wearing, and I'll have all the emotions of it and stuff like that. So we definitely dream. But there are some people who receive messages differently. So I think the more in tune you are with dreaming, the more your clairvoyance is open. Now, is everybody or anybody just clairvoyant or just clairaudient? I don't believe that. But I think you're going to come in to this realm leading with one or two, right? And then that can open the gates, and then you even open that and you develop that even more. And then you start playing with and noticing the others, and just like our senses.
You just become a little more aware.
Yeah, yeah, and then you're gonna start tapping into all the other stuff as well.
So can I back up real quick? You said
Yeah.
clairvoyant,
Clairvoyant,
claircognizant. What were the other two?
Clairsentient,
Sentient.
and Clair.
Well, you've only explained clairvoyance. So
Yeah.
Right. But I was trying to
Clairaudience.
just distinct what the other differences were. So because there's others. There's the visual. There's probably the
Visual, hearing, knowing,
Hearing.
and feeling.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's all. Can you see color, shapes, objects, or pictures when you close your eyes for sleep or meditation? Is that something that's easy for you? Or have you began to see lights, flashes of lights, movements out of the corner of your eyes, stuff like that? That's your clairvoyance opening up.
Seeing shadows move.
Seeing shadows, seeing lights sparkle, and usually I'll see, I'll see auras. I can see best with my eyes closed. I can see the whole map. But if I'm just have my eyes open, if I relax my eyes enough, and this is another thing that I'll show you guys and teach you guys. If I'm looking at you, then I'm not focused over there. So my eyes are relaxed, and I'll see the light will come through, like gold sparkles or yellow sparkles.
And the
red
peripheral?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's the clairvoyance part. Clairvoyance muscle. These are spirit muscles, I would say. Spirit muscles rather than physical. But
So I was
That's
just
all
asking for the
technically.
distinction because like there's a difference between what you just described and seeing it real time and seeing it in a dream or a vision
yeah,
where there is no time,
right.
right? And so do you notice a difference in interpretation between literal and suggestive?
Yeah, I think that's going to come down to more Clair. That's going to be deeper,
Okay.
a deeper tool, the understanding of it.
So when you're dreaming, you're in full-blown color.
Yeah.
Like when you said like this, like almost like 3D.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Not everybody experiences that. You experience it?
3D, oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so right off the bat, I would just say she's got a strong or open clairvoyance muscle.
But I don't remember usually.
Yeah, you said that before, I think. I don't see, and that's one of the things I want to offer us to understand, and for people to understand is, you might be sitting there going, well, I don't see anything. When can I see something? Well, it's okay because you're strong in another place, and I want you to know and tap into what is that strong place. You know, your knowingness, your feeling, that's strong, and that you should be proud of that and lead with that and read from that. You know, a lot of people get frustrated in psychic school and in a lot of the groups that I teach. A lot of people get frustrated when they don't see something. I think maybe 30% of the time they're seeing stuff, they're just not. They're not seeing it in a way. It's not like clear like that, right? It's an imagination vision. Like if you were to shut your eyes right now and imagine your home. You're outside your home, looking at your home. You can imagine that, right? You can visualize that. So that's most of the time how the visions come in. It's like an active or living imagination. That the visions they're not like this real. But after time, you read those imagination visions as that real. After you get more work, practice.
Is any of it a matter of bringing it from your unconscious to your conscious? Like knowing that you see it? Because like I feel like there were a lot of things that I saw that I just didn't know I saw.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Is there
That's a really good question.
distinction between a recurring dream? Like if there's something that
We're not talking about dreams tonight.
no, no, that like sometimes what my question might be, like maybe there's a message that I'm not interpreting or not getting that
Yeah.
it is to a point that I repeat. I mean, like
Yeah. Yeah, it would keep coming probably until you get it, and then it'll disappear.
okay,
Okay, again, if a person would tend to use the words I see when they're talking to others, talking about others, or talking about stuff, I see, I see, I see.
see what I'm saying?
They're, instead of you know what I'm saying,
Right.
you feel what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying?
You feel, see? That's a perfect example.
Exactly.
Exactly, yeah. So we can pay attention, and then we can, maybe over the next month, we can pay attention to what we throw out there. You might be surprised. I'm more visual than I give myself credit. I give myself credit now at this point, but I lead a lot with I feel, and one of my mentors is like, stop feeling and get up to seeing. There's a reason for that. Because sometimes we're reading from our emotions instead of reading the emotions and reading them.
Separating yourself
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes we read through them and it's not clear. It's not clear, it's distorted.
But when my spidey sense goes off, dang, I know it.
Yeah. Understood. Clairaudience. So Clair, audience, hearing. So Clair hearing. So
This would be voices.
this would be voices, messages, other audible inside your mind. For most people, the message are received telepathic. So this is telepathic messages. So sometimes I hear some people say something like, "Oh, I'm hungry." So I'll kind of hear that, but I hear it as the way it shows up in me is feels like a thought. Feels like my voice saying, "Oh, I'm hungry."
So you're telling yourself you're hungry.
No, but it's not. But that's how it shows up, is like a telepathic, clairaudience. Now we're hearing things, right? We're hearing voices, and sometimes you can hear the. Sometimes it's real, like a vibrational. But sometimes this just comes in a message on the thought train, telepathically. So that's still hearing. It's still Clair hearing. I noticed I was hearing people think, hearing comments or statements they would make, and then they would immediately validate it afterwards, and I was like, oh, what the heck? But then as I understood these facets more, I could distinguish, and I knew like I have telepathy. So telepathy is I can hear people's thoughts, not all the time. It's not all the time, and it's not like a barrage of thoughts, but it's every once in a while I'll hear something, and sometimes it's hard to distinguish, is it my thought or is it a thought coming in? And I actually did a whole radio show on that, how much, because everything is frequency and radio wave type energies coming through, right? So we're picking up all kinds of stuff all the time. So how much of your
Filter.
thoughts and what's running through your mind is even originally yours versus stuff coming from the outside that you're trying to process and make yours or figure out the solution to. So that's a big thing. That's a huge thing, because then we spend time trying to fix things or trying to figure out things that weren't even ours originally to figure out. Anyways, Claire.
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
The voice is in your voice? Do you ever get other voices? Do you hear other voices besides your voice? Okay. Do you about tones? Is that included in that?
Yes, sometimes, but you would hear it different. You would hear it different if you're clairaudient. Like when I was a kid, I would hear somebody call my name, and it sounded like a little girl, and it was like, Lynn, clear as day, tone, right? Tone, volume.
Okay.
And it was just a little girl. I learned later it was a little girl who had passed away that thought we were buddies, and at night I would go play with her. But during the day, she would say, Lynn, and I could hear it audibly like this, like that clear.
All right.
And I'd say, there's nobody home. That wasn't my house. But sometimes it's not tone audible. Sometimes it's, you just hear through thoughts.
Okay.
It would be that soft. That's what it would feel like, is thoughts. Perhaps you're having conversation with spirit and you're going to get answers back. It's as if if you're having a conversation in your mind with somebody else and they respond,
Yeah.
that's clairaudience also.
It's like Tyler Perry. Do you ever watch him on TV?
Yeah,
Yeah, is he that?
I don't know.
Because he talks to people that have passed away.
Oh.
For, you know, people. Have you seen him?
No.
It's amazing. Yeah, he's on television sometimes,
Okay.
and he'll have clients. Well, it's actually a lot of people in LA, that crowd.
Oh, right.
And he has such a big reputation, they all go see him, and so then they decided to film it, and so people that come to him are people that people have passed away, but they haven't been able to resolve something.
Sure.
Like a brother that would die from drugs. Well, why did you do that? You know, what happened? And Tyler is able to talk to the person that passed away, and he brings up all these things that there's no way he could know them without talking to that person. And like the stars, you know, that are there, the Hollywood people are going, what? You know, and like there was a plastic surgeon and his wife is dragged into it, and he's all scientific, and he's going, oh brother, you know, you're dragging me to this. And by the time Tyler was finished, he was going, man, you know, I would have never believed this unless, you know, you, Tyler, you know, said all these things. He's pretty amazing.
So that was one of the things I'm going to get to here in the end.
Oh.
That's a good question. That's like a medium. So we'll talk about what is that. What the heck is that?
So that's not.
But a medium will receive information in different ways too. Like so I could be, after we learn about the terminology of what a medium is, I would fit in that category as well. So do I can I communicate, let's call it communicate with spirits who have crossed over. What is the method of receiving that communication now? Sometimes it's just by knowing. Sometimes it's a verbal. Sometimes it's just by seeing. Like they'll show me an image of a quarter with a particular, they'll show me an image of a blanket.
That's what they do with, it happens with
So
Tyler.
that's the images. So that's clairvoyance, right? But some will just speak, and then you'll receive telepathic, or some are just a knowing, like, oh, I just know, like I just know it's a male figure. I just know it's your uncle, and I don't know how I know, but I just know. It's because nothing else feels right. It's not your dog, it's your uncle. It's not your sister, it's your uncle, you know. So
Can they overlap? Can you be a medium and then have other?
Yep. So we'll get to what the medium is exactly, because that's there's a lot of overlap, right? Like you're definitely visual, you're definitely feeling. You're definitely visual, you're definitely feeling. You're feeling, I know you're knowing.
I know you're knowing.
So
there's no.
Yeah, so there's overlap, right? And then what the heck do people call themselves? Like, I'm going to see a psychic, or I'm going to see an intuitive. Sometimes that's thrown out there without the actual understanding of what those really are. that's good to get clarity as we go deeper into these subjects and topics. You may be clairaudient if you're more of a listener than a talker. You often talk to animals or plants and feel they communicate with you.
I was having a conversation with I talk to trees all the time.
Yep. Yep. Have you ever felt like you've received telepathic information from somebody? Like somebody's thinking about you? Like if you start thinking about somebody and then they call, it's happened everybody, that's a great example. You're thinking about somebody and then they call. I was just thinking on my drive home from your house yesterday, I was just thinking about Dr. Pat. I was saying, I need to get access to some of that stuff. I need to figure out when the next radio sessions. I just need to figure that stuff out. Right then she texted me. She said, hey, we need to get on the phone. So we were already telepathically communicating. But that's telepathic. That's
not a psychic connection, it's a telepathic connection.
Psychic is psychic, and then it's telepathically
Okay.
senses, right? It's if we think about senses. So we're communicating, but what way are we receiving the communication?
Okay. So there's a distinction.
Very,
Got it.
very distinctive.
Okay.
Yeah. Very distinctive. Yep.
Telepathic. Can you send images or is it?
Yep.
Okay.
I do that a lot, actually. If you begin to hear ringing or buzzing in your ears,
Yeah, I was just going to ask that. What about my ear? This tickles a lot sometimes to the point where I feel like someone's yanking on my ear. You know how they say, oh, your ear's burning up, someone must be talking?
Yeah,
What if they're frickin' pulling it?
yeah,
And it
they're
hurts.
trying to say, listen.
Okay, and I get that sometimes. Okay, I'm not paying attention. Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
listen.
What do you want?
But specifically, listen.
Okay, specifically listen.
Listen. They're not saying look. Right?
Yeah.
They're not saying look. They're
Yes.
saying listen.
Okay. Listen up.
Yeah. Listen.
It goes from that scream to a whisper when they're yanking. Then, because I'm not whisper to a scream.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so that's not my imagination.
No.
I like to. I would. That would be the simple answer. I like to just dismiss it.
Yeah.
Because it's happening more and more frequently. Apparently,
Yeah.
I don't listen as often
Listen.
as I should. Like right now. So
Listen. You be in receive mode instead of output mode. Receive. A yin and yang for you.
okay.
Your openness is wonderful. It really is.
Or I tend to use the words I hear in conversation when they